Did it cost more? You betcha. About 14% on average. That we spent higher prices on that. But you know, there's that, there was the Visa commercial, you know, this much $5, that much $12, whatever, this much, priceless, right? We had a lot of priceless moments in that process, okay, let me tell you. Some of them were, in this one I did not see coming, but you talk, and this is something that doesn't get seen. You guys were talking about the workers behind the scenes, you never get to see them. Talk about staff morale. I had staff members coming to me going like, Eric, man, dude, when are we getting more of that yellow watermelon? Because that thing was phenomenal, and I can't wait to serve it again. You know, we need more of that. I'm like, all right, let me call Rex, see what we can do. You know, they're like the farmer's coming in the back door, you know, he's got the straw hanging out the mouth. And they're just like, I mean, they're like, you know, they're getting excited over this stuff. All right? We talk about produce being fresher. Right? Instead of produce coming in, but one of the toughest things in the world to buy is red bell peppers. Red bell peppers always come in, they're already starting to kind of shrivel on you. You got like 2 days, man, and they're snotty on the inside, you got to throw them away, and they're expensive, right? So we're throwing it away. These red bell peppers come in, and they're like, I mean, you could pluck them and they sound like a drum. I mean, they're firm, they're thick flesh, they're beautiful. And, you know, we try and not let our produce hang out for a week, but if I had to, a week later, it was still better than what I could buy somewhere else. I'm not throwing it away, okay? So I'm saving money. Yeah, and the bottom line, it was 14%, but we really come out okay on that. I think the other thing that happens there, and this one's really hard to measure because so many people don't even realize it, but students go up and they get something to eat, right? Let's say you go up and you get a piece of watermelon, and you go sit down and you're eating your lunch and you're eating it, that's kind of okay. You know, yeah, you waste it because you taste it and you're like, maybe it's not as good as I want it to be. You know, it's not bad, right? So you go get something else, okay? Versus, you go up there and you don't know why, but you get this piece of watermelon that was in the field the day before, and you sit down and you eat it, and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to have a moment right here. This thing is really good. I eat that, I'm done, I'm finished. You didn't go get more food. You didn't waste anything. Okay? I can't prove that happens, but I got a pretty strong hunch there's some of that connected in there. Okay? This relationship has continued. In fact, we just had a meeting a couple weeks ago with Rick Boudreau, who's one of the proprietors of this company as well. And a lot of our growers that grow for us actually are Amish farmers. And he's been meeting with the Amish to also not only schedule production times for the year based on our needs, and Missouri food has actually grown. Now this year, if you shopped at Hy-Vee, which had a huge local produce section, all of that came from Missouri food for Missouri people. Columbia Public Schools is actually getting produce from Missouri food for Missouri people now. So it's been a win-win. You know, we've helped them grow, they've helped us grow. But he's meeting with farmers to talk production schedules and say, okay, you know, could we get at least 5 of you guys to grow the same kind of cucumber during this time of year because this is what the need is over here. You know, so there's this community collaboration happening. And we're thrilled by it, I'm going to be honest with you. And we will only continue to do more and more of that. You know, to be honest, like Steve said right now, it's a little hard to grow certain things. And at this point, our customers, the majority, still expect certain things. You know, over time, we can help educate about seasonality and stuff. Really big for us on produce. Second story I want to talk about, beef. Steve mentioned, and actually, folks in the earlier presentation were talking about the beef vendor over at the farmer's market. And if you ever get over there and you meet Mark Mankin from Missouri Legacy Beef, you will talk about him too. Okay? First time I met Mark was in this group with Rex Roberts. And, you know, I said, Mark, how you doing? He says, I'm good, man. He said, I'm Mark Mankin. I was born and raised on a cattle farm. I said, I believe in lot number 12, right over there. You know, he says, I'm cattle, that's all I know. This guy could sell ice to an Eskimo, I'm telling you, right? Okay. But he is, I mean, you know, talk about the old timers, they always salt of the earth. I mean, you would not find a greater guy in the world. We start talking, he starts telling me about his product. Little quick story about Mark. Mark's third generation farmer, about 25 miles up the road, okay? He's been on the farm, him and his wife, Susie, raising cattle and kids, not necessarily in that order, that's his quote, not mine, for the last 30 years, okay? For about 20-25 of those years, they were one of the largest cattle operations in the state of Missouri. They were running over 5,000 head of cattle, okay? And they were basically a, not as nasty of a feedlot, but a feedlot, okay? So their paddocks were bigger, And they were an interesting setup because they never owned the animals that came there. The original farmers did, and they were feeding only into specific lines, whether that be certified Angus, Laura's lean, some really particular market lines. And actually, they did some innovative stuff. I mean, they were doing live ultrasounds to check marbling, you know, all kinds of weird things. About 5, 6 years ago, Mark, as he tells the story, started getting sick all the time. He said, I was just sick all the time. I was sick. I didn't feel good. He said, you know, I said, God, is this what getting old's all about? You know? He said, I don't like this. Goes to his doctor, they do a bunch of tests, he ends up at an allergist. Well, come to find out, he's allergic to cattle, horses, dogs, dust, mold, you know, and he works on a farm, right? He's like, man, I gotta do something different. And so basically they said, either we gotta go bigger so I can step out and let someone else run it, or we gotta go really small. And that's what they did. They actually did a lot of research with the University of Iowa helping them out to develop a feeding program for cattle that their cattle could be always on free range, grass-fed, but still have a taste that most Americans have come to know as being traditional beef. We hear many accolades about grass-fed beef, and nutritionally there's a lot of great things we see about grass-fed beef. Most people have never tasted it, and when they do, they think there's something wrong with the meat. Okay? And it's not saying one is good, one is bad, it's just there is a different flavor profile. And what Mark said is, most of my customers that I've ever known like this flavor of beef. So their cattle receive a ration. In this ration, if I had a coffee cup up, you know, we always hear about the corn feed cattle, right? And that's what's wrong with it. If I had a coffee cup up right here, about 99% of that coffee cup is hay. There's a little bit of corn in there, and that's what gives that flavor. When they do nutrient analysis on this product, it performs as well nutritionally as grass-fed beef, but gives you the flavor of the beef that most people have come to know. The animals are never given hormones, never given antibiotics, all naturally raised. Mark, you know, doesn't buy his animals off of a feedlot or a cattle operation. He has specific farmers that raise cattle just for him. Okay? So Mark and I started talking. I taste the beef. I'm like, man, we got to make this happen. And I won't lie to you. When he showed me the price list, I wasn't sure whether to just choke right there or to, you know, if I didn't like the guy so much already, I was going to just, you know, ask him to leave right then and there. And we started crunching and said, man, how can we make this happen? This is something that matters. You know, this is what an opportunity and what a story to tell to our students. And so we targeted Pavilion at Dobbs for several reasons. We don't have to get into those, but for several reasons. So this could be perfect. You know, let's start with hamburgers over there. And one of the biggest challenges, one of the scariest things I ever had, and I don't know why I was scared, I was so nervous about this, is when I had to go in actually and talk to Steve and Jelaine and say, okay, I know here's what we pay for a burger right now, and I know we buy like 14,000 pounds of them just at Dobbs, and I'm going to spend this much. Is that okay? You know? And fortunately, I like math, so I didn't trick the numbers, but we boiled down into a way where it's like fractions of a penny. You know, like, well, if you look at it for every student on campus and how many meals we serve, this kind of thing. We said, let's do it. You know, and it's been hugely successful. Now, when you go to Pavilion at Dobbs, not only the hamburgers, every piece of raw beef that comes in the door comes from Missouri Legacy Beef. You can go there and buy beef jerky that comes from Missouri Legacy Beef. It's all produced right here. We've done special events on campus. Some of the things, you know, we did a Taste Missouri last year. We've done some other things. We did a Take Me Out to the Ball game last year. Mark makes this phenomenal all-beef hot dog. And it's a real hot dog. We're not talking like it's all the junk stuff. This thing's good. You know, we bought like 500 pounds of them and have them all over campus. We're actually right now working on developing a new, we just opened Mort's in the Student Center, right? And we're working on, hopefully in the next couple weeks, introducing like a premium burger over there. Maybe it's going to be like a Chipotle smoked cheddar burger or something like that. That's going to be made all with Mark's beef as well. Okay? I can tell you this. Last year, by dollar value, 29% of all the beef we bought came from Missouri Legacy Beef. That's pretty big, man. You know, and that's just the beginning stage. One last one, eggs. Steve mentioned cage-free eggs. We started that about 4 years ago. Our cage-free eggs come from it's a very large-scale farm, Roseacre Farms, one of the largest egg producers. But the farm that we buy from is actually located just over the river in Illinois. Okay, and they are a cage-free egg. And we've had very good success with that product. In the same time, about 2009, we were having a meeting in here with a bunch of farmers, and there's a couple young kids across me. They look young to me. I don't know. The one looked like he was maybe 15, one 13, and their dad was with them. And so we're going around the table introducing, and Dad says, I'm Andrew Stanton, and I'm here because I drove my boys. Okay. And the older one stands up, he says, my name's Dustin Stanton, and me and my brother, we own Stanton Brothers Eggs. Okay. So we started 8 years ago with 24 hens. Today we have over 5,000. What? You gotta be kidding me. This kid now is a senior in high school. Okay, he's gonna come to MU next year. They sell eggs at the farmer's market, nursing homes, grocery stores, all over. You look for Stanton Brothers eggs. I've never been out to their farm. They say you go out there and it's like dodging bullets trying to drive around these chickens. You know? In fact, right now the hens aren't even laying because these aren't big heated hen houses and stuff like that. I mean, this is they have houses for the hens, but when it gets really cold and short days like this, the hens will quit laying. So right now they don't even have eggs coming out. 2 years ago when we met them at that time, there were some challenges though. All right, they didn't have an egg washer. Okay, so all eggs came in unwashed. All right, there's some sanitation concerns with that. They didn't have a candler. In commercial settings, all eggs are candled, where you check to make sure there aren't any live chicks in there and other deformities that happen inside the eggs. And they didn't have refrigeration to store their eggs in. Now, there is a misnomer. There are eggs, if you go into most bake shops, eggs are not refrigerated. They do not need to be for like up to 30 days. We serve a lot of people. We're not going to take that chance. Okay? This past end of summer, Dustin calls me up and says, Eric, I want to talk about a few things because we've made some changes. He says, we've got a commercial egg washer now. We have a candler. We have refrigerated not only storage but delivery vehicles. And we want your egg business. I said, bring it on, man. You know? So Andy said, oh, and here's what I'm going to charge you. It was less than what I'm paying the guys in Illinois. I mean, this was just like a dream. So we were happy. It was about November. Rollins started bringing in all eggs from Centralia, Missouri, 25 miles down the road. Our plan, once we get eggs back in production in the spring, is to do it everywhere. You know, why not? It makes sense. Right? So these are things we're doing right now. And I could go on a list of other things, but that we're doing. All right, can we do more? Absolutely. But, you know, I want you to know that that's what we're here to do. And, you know, like Steve said, come talk to us. I mean, there may be things you know or see or want. We're not perfect. I'll tell you that right now. You know, there are things that I walk through some of our facilities and I'm like, man, we really got to do something about that. You know? But if nothing else, I can pass on you today. If nothing, you can leave from here with a feeling that, a little better feeling that there are people within campus dining and as a department that we do care, we do listen.